Hi, this is James from Tabletop Gaming Guild, and today we're going to look at the 2 to 6 player game Terraternity, the card game. Terraternity is going to be a game about you trying to save the world. You're trying to save the world from its CO2 emissions and out of control greenhouse effect. So you are trying to make carbon neutral countries and reduce the carbon output worldwide to save the earth for future generations. Let's go ahead down to the table here and we're going to check out this game. But a quick note is that this is a prototype. So what you're going to see down here in the rules are all subject to change. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a general overview of how to play the game, and in hopes that it just gives you the feel of how the game works. Because again, it's a prototype, those things can change. So let's go ahead down the table here. I'll give you a general overview of the game and we'll come back and I'll give you my final thoughts after that. Okay, so this is what a typical setup of Terraternity, the card game, might look like. Now, you have these 3 different bases that you can select, and you'll notice that on the base shows how many the player count for the base. So we just set it for a 3 to 6 player game, but this game goes from 2 to 6 players. To start out, everyone's going to get 3 country cards and 3 energy cards. And the game goes through a couple different phases, but in the first turn you just pick cards that you're going to play. So the first round you're just going to play cards. And when you play cards, you're going to look at a couple different things. You're going to look at the carbon output for the game, for the card. You're going to look at the green cubes that it produces. Now, a country like Brazil here, and there's a whole bunch of stats on the bottom here of its energy production and such. And there's a QR code here. If you scan it, it'll take you to the website and give you more information about Brazil. So basically, this has 10% fossil fuels and 90% alternative energy. So Brazil's looking pretty good. Now, when you place these out, so this is a typical one, 7 and 3. When you place these out, so let's say I place out, make it the easy one, I'll place out Brazil. So I could place out a country, I place it over here. Then I have to take as many cubes as listed up on the upper right and put it on here. Now, I can play whatever I want on my turn, keeping in mind that every time I play one, so if I play this country too, I'm going to have to put 7 cubes on here. I'll tell you what that means in a second. But the other thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to try to make these countries carbon neutral. So the goal of the game is to get 5 carbon neutral countries completed. And at that time, the game ends, you have one more round, and the person with the highest score wins. And I'll explain how to score in a second. But basically, you can put down these power plants. So these alternative energy power plants. And they have a couple different things on them. Here, when you place it down, you're gonna put 6 additional cubes on there. So I'll have to place 6 more. See, I'm not allowed to touch it with my hand. You're only allowed to touch it with other cubes, so that's a rule in there, and I stacked it really horribly. We are going to pretend that didn't fall for now because I'll go over that in a second. Okay, so then you're going to look at how many years this takes. This takes 2 years, so I'm going to put 2 white cubes on it. And the yellow thing here means when it's completed, I get a yellow cube. You can use yellow cubes here to not have to put down black cubes, so you could spend a yellow cube to put one less. But what will happen is the next round, at the beginning of every one of my turns, I could take one of these cubes off. But at the turn, I'm going to take how many cubes that are totaled here, minus the green. So this one has a dot around it, so it doesn't count. So I'm going to have to put cubes on this tower, black cubes on this tower every round. So you have to keep that in mind. Once these clear off, I have enough rounds for that. This becomes carbon neutral if you add up these greens, is a larger number or equal or a larger number that or equal to the number of black cubes total on the right. If that happens, then I could put this one over my scoring area. So let's say it's over here, and we're good. Now, if I have this out and I put some cubes on here, oh no, it falls over. That caused a disaster. So I clear this off, and I take one of my power plants and I turn it sideways. Now this is negative points at the end of the game. So at the end of the game, when someone has the 5 carbon neutral plants, you're going to add up all your greens, so these points right here, and then you're going to subtract all the ones that, the blacks on all the ones that have failed during different catastrophes. The person with the highest points will win. However, if you get your 5 carbon neutral countries, if you're the one that does that and you have the highest score at the end of the game, you become the MSP, which is most sustainable player. So you get that extra title when you win. But just because you completed 5 carbon neutral countries doesn't mean you necessarily win. The end score will determine that. So the game goes over, other than the first round where you just play cards, the game goes over 5 steps. In the steps, you're going to check your power plants to see if they have been completed. Then you're going to check for the carbon neutral country. So if you completed this plan, if it's carbon neutral, it'll go over in your area, and you'll get your yellow cube that you can use to not have to place a one of the black cubes, which is really nice. You will then collect cubes. So whatever plants and countries I have left that aren't carbon neutral, I'll collect all the cubes on there, and I have to place them on top of this globe. And then which is going to be part of adding CO2 to the Terra globe, and then I can play cards like normal. At the end of the turn, I need to draw back up to 6. Now I can discard cards and collect the carbon on them to discard them, but I can draw from either the country, the energy, or the action deck. If I draw from the action deck, they just let me do a couple of different cool things. So this awareness cards lets me get 3 green cubes, which is nice. So like I said, play will continue until you have completed your 5th carbon neutral country, or someone has. Each person will get 1 more turn and the game will end. So that's generally how you're going to play Terraternity, the card game. Let's go back up to the table here and I'll give you my final thoughts on Terraternity. Okay, so Terraternity, the card game, is really nice. I like it a lot. It's fun. You have to be okay with the dexterity element, because that globe is a dexterity element in the game. I'm not very good at dexterity. I'm very horrible at it, but I still like this game. So a lot of in the card game that's different from the board game is that there's a lot more take that in this game, in as you can stack that globe with carbon cubes in a way that it makes it very difficult for the next player to actually deal with it. Now keep in mind that you don't sabotage yourself and be like, oh crap, I don't want to play another card, and now I can't because I stacked that globe in a way that I don't think I can stack any more cubes on it. And unlike in the Euro version of the game, when the cubes fall over in this one, you're going to not do the same stuff. You're going to lose one of your countries that isn't carbon neutral yet, so you have to keep that in mind. I do like the Euro better, but that's just me because I like the heavier games. I think this game is going to probably have wider appeal. This game is easier to teach than the Euro version of the game, faster to play than the Euro game, and faster to set up. So I think both of them are good, and both of them have their own audiences. Could be the same audience for both, but they both have their own niche. So I think that the Terraternity, the card game, is a good card game. I think that a lot of people are going to like it. And I can't wait to see the final product on this game. So that's my thoughts on Terraternity, the card game. Thank you for watching.